All right, yesterday we talked about the standard form of a circle. So that was your x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Remembering that r was the radius and the h and k would be the center. Now yesterday we stayed at the center of the circle being the origin. So yesterday we were just dealing with h and k being 0. So that made it real simple. It was just x squared plus y squared equals r squared. But today we're moving off of the origin. So we're going to have to deal with h and k, a different kind of a center. That is called standard form. Elizabeth, put it on my desk. That form is called standard form, okay? If you were to FOIL this out and square everything and make it all without parentheses, that's called general form. So just memorize the difference between those two things. With parentheses is standard form. Without parentheses is called general form. Okay? So let's practice writing the equation in standard form and general form. So first of all, if the center is at 3, 2, watch how the little formula works.
X minus 3.
It's going to be x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 25. Did everybody see what I just did? Okay, so that's easy enough. It's just minus the center minus the center. You can think of it as doing the opposite sign. If this had been a negative 3 in the point, then it would have been plus 3. So you're kind of doing opposite signs. Okay? Now, writing the general form. For general form, you just have to multiply all this out. So I think I'll do it in 2 separate pieces. So looking at the x minus 3, understand that if I wanted to multiply this out, I would have to do x minus 3 times x minus 3, remember? So I would have to, double distribute is how I think of it. So x times x, that would be squared. I'll put it over here. I need space. X times negative 3, that would be minus 3x. And then I would do that again. So x times x, negative 3 times x would be negative 3. And then negative 3 times negative 3 would be, negative 3x. And then negative 3 times negative 3 would be positive 9. Okay? So I just sort of double distribute it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the y minus 2 squared. So I would have plus, say again? Oh, I can make it a little bit bigger. So I got plus y minus 2 times y minus 2. Okay, so looking at this part, so doing the same thing again. So if I do y times y, then that's going to be y squared. Y times negative 2 is negative 2y. Then I've got negative 2 times y, it's another negative 2y. And negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And then all of that was equal to 25. Alright, so now I'm just going to clean this up a bit. So I've got my x squared. Putting these two together, negative 3x and negative 3x, that's going to be negative 6x. Alright, let's see. I've got my y squared. I'll come back to this 9 in a second. I've got y squared and then negative 2y and negative 2y, that's minus 4y. Okay. Now, I might as well do this all at once. So I've got 9 plus 4, so obviously that's 13, right? So I've got plus 13 equals 25. Now, in general form, because that's what we're shooting for now. In general form, notice how it's set equal to 0. So let's make sure we get it all equal to 0. So what's the last step you think I'm going to do here? Yeah, just subtract 25 on both sides. All right, what's that?
Negative 12.
So I got x squared. I think we need to put the x squared and y squared next to each other now. So, because general form, you have x squared and then y squared right in a row. All right? and then I have the x, and then I have the y. So I'm going to write everything in that order. So I will have x squared plus y squared, and then minus 6x, and then minus 4y, and then negative 12 equals 0. So this would be my general form. Okay? And you'll have time to practice that later.
That's it?
That's it. That's it. All right, let's do that again, number 2. So, start off with standard form. That's the easy part, right? Help me out. Tell me, somebody start telling me the answer. X minus 3. Keep going. Plus y minus 4 squared equals what?
Equals 6.
Equals 6, okay? Do you guys remember that, like right here, we need the radius squared. The radius is square root of 6. Do you remember if we take the square root of 6 and we square that, that's just going to give us 6. So we're just going to have 6 right here because we're squaring the radius, so we're just going to have 6. So that is the standard form of this equation. Any questions right there? Did I lose anyone just then? Okay. And then again, switching this over to general form, we need to multiply all this out. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So if I do x minus 3 times x minus 3, that's going to give me, wait, didn't we just do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little different.
It's slightly different, not much.
Well, okay. I'll just do it again. So that's going to be, so doing this same thing like we did before. So that's going to be x squared minus 3x plus 9, just like before. Okay, and when I do my y minus 4 times y minus 4, okay, once again, that's going to be like having y squared minus 4y plus 16. All right, and all of that is equal to 6 right now. Okay, so that's going to give me x squared minus 6x plus 9 plus y squared minus 8y plus 16 equals 6. All right, so putting this all together, well, first of all, what's 9 plus 16? That's 25. So I've got x squared plus y squared minus 6x minus 8y plus 25 is equal to 6. And then I'm going to subtract 6 like Evan's been telling me. So that's why my final answer is x squared plus y squared minus 6x minus 8y plus 19 equals 0.
Does the order matter?
Yes, the order matters.
But what about for the x and y? Like, what if you did minus 8y minus 6?
Yeah,
Before you put
the order of general form. Look back at the model I gave you at the beginning, okay? It has to be in this order, just like this. We got x squared, y squared, dx, ey, f, 0. That has to be the order.
Before, didn't you put x squared minus 6x plus, like the last one?
Let's take a look. Okay. All right. Is number 3 the same thing again, or is it different? All right. Take a minute and do number 3 by yourself. Okay, so the standard form, even if you're not 100% done, you should be ahead of me and you should be able to stay ahead of me, so don't cry. So for standard form, we'll do x plus 2 squared, because we're doing sort of the opposite of what we got there, so x plus 2. And then we'll do y minus 6 squared is equal to the radius squared, so 9. So obviously if you start off with the wrong standard form, you're definitely going to get the wrong general form. So please make sure you have the standard form right. Any questions so far? Okay. And then you would have multiplied it all out. So there was my standard form. Now general form. Okay. So I'm going to be doing x plus 2 times x plus 2. And then I'll be doing y minus 6 times y minus 6. Okay, so, whoops.
Oh, -6 added, and then 12. What'd you get?
All right, so double distributing. So I've got x squared plus 2x, and then plus 2x plus 4. And then I've got doing the y values. Bam, 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 bam. So I've got y squared minus 6y plus 36 equals 9. So that's going to give me x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 12y. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put together the 4 and the 36. So that's going to make 40 equals 9. So I'm going to have to subtract 9 from both sides. So that's going to give me x squared plus y squared plus 4x minus 12y plus 31 equals 0. All right, is this what everybody got for your general form?
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay, stretching it out. All right, now we're on the back. Find the equation of a circle with diameter that has these endpoints. Okay, do you remember what the word diameter means?
Total length.
Right, diameter, like if this is the center, the diameter would be all the way across through the center. Okay, so let's see. So let's say this is 9 comma 4 over here, and let's say this is negative 1 comma 0 over here. What I really need is the radius to make an equation. So what am I going to do? Distance formula divided by 2, because I want that length. Okay, so probably the easiest thing to do is find use the distance formula to find the whole diameter, and then cut that in half. Okay, so let's do that. All right, so that distance formula, remember we'll do the square root of, and we'll do x minus x squared. This is the distance formula, basically. That's the distance formula, so that's what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to do 9 minus negative 1, and then y minus y, so that'll be 4 minus 0. Okay? Now you can jump in and use a calculator anytime you want, but you can do it pretty quickly without a calculator, especially if you know that minus and negative is addition. So this is really like having 9 plus 1 in here. Okay, so 9 plus 1, that's 10. 10 squared is 100, so I have 100. 4 minus 0 is just 4. 4 squared is 16. Okay, so I've got 116 in there. Okay, so what's the square root of 116?
2 radical 29.
All right, so the diameter is 2 radical 29.
So the radius is just radical 29.
So that means the radius must just be radical 29. Okay, and this is the one that I really want. Again, how did I get the radius?
Squared it. Divide by
divide by 2, okay? The radius is half of the diameter. So if the diameter is 2 radical 29, the radius is just radical 29. I divide it by 2. So now that I've got my radius, I can go ahead and make the equation. But wait, so back to what Maddie was saying, okay? Maddie was saying something about needing the what? What did you say? The midpoint. We need the midpoint, okay? Because the midpoint will be the center of this circle, and we need that for the h and the k. So we have the radius now. Let's find the midpoint. Okay? Now remember that the midpoint, we do the average of the x's and the average of the y's. Okay? So these x's, I'm going to add them up and divide by 2. So it's like 9 plus negative 1 divided by 2. And then I'm going to find the average of the y's. So like 4 plus 0 divided by 2. Okay? That's how you find the midpoint. Average of the x's, average of the y's. Well, 9 plus negative 1 is just 8. And of course, this is just 4 over 2. So that midpoint is going to be 4, 2. All right? So I've got my midpoint. So in summary, putting together what we collected, we know that the center is 4, 2. Because that was the midpoint. We know that the radius is radical 29. Using that information, we should be able to now write the equation of the circle. Okay? Tiger, start me off with the equation of that circle.
Alright, well, wait, it's going to be x, wait, what?
It's always kind of, we're doing the opposite of the signs of these, all right?
Okay, so x minus 4,
Mm-hmm.
and then y minus 2.
And then, okay. Plus,
Plus, yeah. Minus 2.
keep going,
Equals 29.
equals 29. Okay. There's a little something missing.
Square.
Both of these will be squared.
And it should
Okay.
be radical 29 still.
No, he was right about the
I
29.
thought it.
Because in the formula, isn't it r squared that goes here? And radical 29 is r.
So you wouldn't leave it like radical 29 squared? Because
Oh, definitely not. Radical 29 squared is 29, so which is simpler? Writing radical 29 squared or just
But
29?
I thought because you have the squared, the other parts are square that you
Look back at what we did before, okay? Remember when we had radical 6?
Yeah.
Did we put radical 6 squared here, or did we just put 6? That's how we're going to do it. Okay? So, bam, that's it. There's your number 4. Any questions on that?
Wait,
Waiting.
I thought, okay, oh, it's first, so midpoint, when you have the fraction you add on the top, you don't subtract.
Correct, because midpoint is just the average. So add them up and divide by 2. Okay? What's next? Graph these equations and say what's the center and the radius. All right, well, saying what it is the easiest part. Okay? Rosie, can you tell me the center? What is the center?
0, 0.
Not sure?
No, there is one. It's the 0.
No, it's not 0 this time. Henry, go.
2, 3.
The center is 2, 3. Okay? The coordinates of the center are going to be here and here. And you can treat it like it's the opposite sign of these two. So if you see minus, then it'll be positive. Okay? That's the center. All right? Blaine, tell me the radius of this thing.
4.
The radius is 4. All right? This is r squared, so you just take the square root of that. So with that information, then you could graph it. So if the center is 2, 3, then you would go to 2, 3 and put your dot. And then you do the radius from there. It's going to go slightly off the screen, but that's okay. So the radius is 4. That means we need to go 4 in all directions. So it'd be like here, 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 right? And, all right, well, this is pretty far off the screen. All right, but something like that will be pretty good. All right, any questions about number 5?
Wait, so you're talking about okay, so the radius.
Number 6, same thing. Hopefully you worked ahead and you're already kind of done with it. You're already done? All right, Darius, give me the center.
0, -3.
The center is 0, -3 on this one. What's the radius?
You want to end fraction.
Give me both.
4.123 or square root 17.
Yeah, how are you getting that there?
It's 17.
All right, the radius is going to be the square root of 17,
Oh, okay, I didn't see it in those
which is approximately 4.1. Okay? So put down both of those things. The radius of radical 17, that's what I want to see. But the 4.1, that's what you need in order to graph it. Okay, so 0, -3 is like here. And then that radius is slightly bigger than 4. So it's virtually 4. Whoa, worst circle ever.
What's yours back to?
Okay? Any questions on that one?
Big negative.
All right. Now, hopefully you noticed that this was classwork part 1. So what does that imply?